but lock up NFC's home field in process. Philadelphia, the Eagles could either look at this as a prelude to the disaster that awaits in the playoffs without quarterback Carson Wentz. Or they could lick their wounds and use the next 3 weeks until their first playoff game to figure out a way to make Nick Foles, Wentz's replacement, better. That's because Foles hardly made anyone forget about Wentz on Monday night. But Foles and the offense were bailed out by the defense as Ronald Darby's interception with 46 seconds left led to Jake Elliott's game-winning field goal with 22 seconds left as the Eagles held off the Oakland Raiders 19-10 on Monday. The final points came on Derek Barnett's fumble return for a touchdown after the Raiders tried desperation pitches as time ran out. By winning, the Eagles, 13-2, clinched the home field advantage throughout the playoffs, meaning they won't have to travel until the Super Bowl. But if they keep playing like this, they might not last very long in the postseason. And that was plain for everyone to see at Lincoln Financial Field, as a smattering of boos could be heard in the second half. Wentz, a leading candidate for the MVP award before he tore his ACL on December 10, was on the field with a pair of crutches during pregame warm-ups. He then watched the game from the suite. Eagles, Wendell Smallwood helps Wilmington single moms, but this game was ugly in every sense of the word for any signs of offensive prowess in the playoffs. The Raiders, after all, came into the game out of playoff contention. This came after the Eagles struggled to beat an even worse Giants team the week before. Suffice it to say that Foles didn't come anywhere close to his performance the last time the Eagles faced the Raiders, back in 2013. On that day, Foles tied an NFL record by throwing for 7 touchdowns. On Monday, Foles could barely get out of his own way. He finished 19 of 38 for 163 yards with a touchdown and an interception. The Eagles were a deplorable 1 for 14 on third down. The Eagles had converted 45.4% of their third downs coming into the game. The Eagles were helped by forcing 4 turnovers in the second half, 2 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries. Both teams combined for 6, all of them in the second half. Otherwise, they would have lost. It was a struggle for the Eagles from the start, except for their second possession. That's when the Eagles went to the running game. They ran the ball 8 straight times, using 3 of their running backs. Then Foles hit JJ on a screen pass and he burst through the Raiders' defense for a 17-yard touchdown. But the Eagles couldn't do much after that. Foles nearly threw a pick six, but Reggie Nelson dropped the ball. Foles missed Nelson Aguilar deep. And the running game sputtered as well. In the meantime, Jalen Mills fell for a double move, and Raiders receiver Amari Cooper was wide open and turned that into a 63-yard touchdown, tying the score with 12:36 left in the second quarter. Carr and Cooper teamed up again on a deep ball, with Cooper out-leaping 3 Eagles for the ball. But that was called back on a holding penalty. Then the Eagles drove down the field just before halftime, helped by a defensive hold on a third down pass Foles was throwing away. The drive sputtered at the Raiders' 15, but Jake Elliott missed a 33-yard field goal. It didn't get any better in the second half. The game devolved into a turnover fest as there were 6 in the second half alone, as both teams could manage only a field goal well into the fourth quarter. The Eagles' top 3 wide receivers of Alshon Jeffrey, Nelson Aguilar and Torrey Smith combined for just 1 catch for 5 yards in the first half. That catch was by Smith in the first quarter. Jeffrey, who came into the game leading the Eagles with 781 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns, wasn't even targeted in the first half. Aguilar was targeted twice. Right tackle Lane Johnson, just named to his first Pro Bowl, was called for 2 holding penalties and a false start. He was mostly going against Raiders Pro Bowl defensive end Khalil Mack, a tough matchup for anyone. But it wasn't all bad for Johnson. Mack didn't have a sack, ending his streak of 5 straight games with at least 1. Left guard Stephen Wisniewski was inactive for the second straight game with an ankle injury. It seems more like a precautionary move, however, as Wisniewski practiced all last week on a limited basis. Chances are, he won't play again until the playoffs. Chance Warmack started in his place. Defensive end Trent Cole announced before the game that he's retiring as an Eagle. He was honored on the field at the end of the first quarter. Cole, who played for the Eagles from 2005-14, ranks second in franchise history in sacks with 85.5. He was named to the Pro Bowl in 2007 and 2009. Contact Martin Frank at delawareinline.com. Follow on Twitter at mfrankenful.